To perform a basic edit in Premiere Pro, we need to put clips on the timeline. Now this is our project. This is our viewer window. This is our timeline where the clips are going to go. These are our clips. Okay, and this is the sequence which actually matches the timeline that we're working on. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do is select a clip to edit. This will be the first clip in our edit. We click on it to select it, then double click it so that it appears in the viewer window. Now we can now scroll through this clip using the J, K and L keys to control it until we find our endpoint, the point where we want the clip to start. Okay, by pressing I, we set our endpoint. We then scroll through the clip again using the J, K and L keys until we find our out point, and we're going to say here's going to be our out point for this, and then we overwrite it to the timeline by pressing the full stop. Now as you can see, nothing happened this time, and that's because we haven't selected the tracks that we want the video to go to. Now that we've selected those tracks, when we overwrite it by pressing the full stop, the clips go onto the track, both the video and the two audio tracks, because it's a stereo pair. However, if we deselect the audio tracks and overwrite, just the video appears. Okay, we're just going to remove that clip. Now when we select the audio but deselect the video and overwrite by pressing the full stop, just the audio appears. So we have a lot of control over what we put on the timeline, but in this case we want both the video and the audio. So we do that, hit the full stop, and we've created our first edit. Now as you can see, this clip's on the timeline, and that's the cursor which shows where we are in the process. The cursor is very important to editing. Yeah. Now this yellow line around the timeline shows that that's what we're working on. So when we use the J, M and L keys now, that allows us to scroll through the image on the timeline and leave our cursor where we want it to go. So let's put another clip into this edit. So we select it, double click it, and this is our next clip on our edit. And again, we need to set an in and an out point, which we've already done on this one. Yeah. So now when we overwrite by pressing the full stop, watch where the clip goes and watch where the cursor is. Yeah, the clip has overwritten, that's why it's called overwriting, over the video that we'd already put in. Now that may be something that we want to do, but actually in this case it is something that we didn't want to do. It was actually a mistake. So if we go Apple Z, we can remove that. Now what we really need to do is put the cursor at the end of the clip before we edit the next piece on. Now we could do this by trying to drag it into the right place, but the truth of the matter is you're not going to be completely precise by that. So we can actually use the up and down arrows on the keyboard to take us to either the previous edit or the next edit. Okay, so up to the previous edit, down to the next edit. We now know that our cursor's at the end of the clip. Now by clicking on the viewer pane and hitting the full stop again, we can now edit the next clip in. As we can see, that clip's gone exactly where we wanted it at the end of that clip on the timeline. We've now made our first edit, and that edit is a cut because it's cutting from one clip to the next. Okay, so that's our first edit. However, what happens if we want to put a clip between those two clips? Okay, well let's select this clip and put an in and an out point for these. In fact, we've already got one there. Okay, so we've got a little short clip and we want to put that clip between those two clips. Now we've put the cursor on the edit point between those two clips. Now instead of overwriting, we can insert. We can use this button here, or we can press the comma. Yeah? We're going to put that clip between those clips, and when we press the comma, see, look, it actually appears between those two clips and actually moves the clip on the right further out. So basically you've put that clip between the two, and that's the reason it's called an insertion, an insert edit. Yeah, we've now inserted that clip between those two clips. Okay, now in this case we don't really want to do that. Okay, so let's remove that, but let's actually look at this edit point. We may decide that actually the edit point that we've got isn't exactly what we want, so we can actually highlight the edit point, press T, and when we do, the trim edit window comes up. And now as you can see, we've got both sides of the edit here. And by clicking on one side of it, we can actually edit the edit point on the clip to the left. So we're editing the out point there by dragging that backwards and forwards. And by clicking on the right clip a couple of times, right, we can see we've got the right one only, and we can actually alter that edit point as well to the point that we want to move that to. This is called trimming. So basically, having inserted, having overwritten our clips, we can now click on the thing, hit T, and we can now trim so we get exactly the edit point that we want, okay, between those two clips. But as I said, at the moment, what we've got between those two clips is a cut. What happens if we want to put something else? Well, let's go to the Effects tab, and one of the options we've got here are the video transitions, yeah? Of which the most likely we're going to use is the dissolve, although there are loads of other ones. I want you to try those out. Cross dissolve is the default one. But this time, let's actually take a film dissolve, grab that, and drag that over our cutting point, our edit point. And as you can see, that has actually now dropped, right, a crossfade between those 2 points. Yeah? However, you can see that that looks a bit jerky, and the reason that's a bit jerky is because actually it's got a red line and there are frames dropping out. So let's just render that down, and we render by hitting the return key. Okay, so we're just letting that render through. It's a little dissolved, so it won't take very long to do. Okay, now when we play the clip back, we've got the clip that we've edited and trimmed, and then we've dissolved between those 2 clips, yeah? But the thing is, we can actually alter the duration of this dissolve just by dragging the ends here. There are other ways of doing it, but for the moment this is the way to alter it. Again, that's going to like drop out, so we're probably going to want to do like a render on this. Let's just see whether this will play through. No, see, look, that's dropping out. So actually we're going to do another render. Hit return. Just let this work its way through. And this is a relatively slow machine, so you see it's not going to take very long at all on the new faster machines. Okay, and now when we play our clip, we've got a longer dissolve between the 2 clips. Fundamentally, editing in Premiere Pro is a process of selecting clips in your viewer, then setting the in and out points with I and O, and then either overwriting or inserting using the full stop or comma keys. We can then select the edit points, press T to open up the trim window in order to tighten or move those in and out points until we get the edit point we want. We can also add transitions. Providing you can do these basic processes, you can undertake an edit in Premiere Pro.